Somebody drinking?
We got it. The pink chairs. Okay.
Just behind.
I think I'll go out on this little lighter's
Do you need me to move?
Don't worry, folks. Famous plan for it. What do we want to take
Excuse me, before the meeting begins, I would like to make a request that the air conditioning unit be shut off so that this blower is turned off through the entire meeting so that I can hear the meeting.
We did have the air in the system check. There's nothing wrong with the system.
There may not be anything wrong with the system, but the problem is I can't hear above the blower. This is supposed to be a public meeting.
It is a public meeting. I can hear you. I'm having.
That's because the blower is not above your head, all right? The blower is above my head.
And the rest of us have to be comfortable with the meeting, so I'm sorry, but as it circulates on and off, that's what's going to happen.
Well,
I'm sorry,
then there's large parts of
Could
the
you speak a
meeting.
little bit louder, because I can't quite hear what you're saying? Thank you.
There are no, that's okay. I'm not going to sit there and be cold. There's nothing wrong with the system. I am not spending taxpayer dollars to have something like this done. Please
I'm not asking you to have something different done. You know, these
This
meetings
is not
last
time for public
typically
comment,
30
and
minutes.
Let's continue with the meeting statement.
Well, I'd ask you to please all raise your voices when you speak, if you can, please.
We will definitely do that.
The notice requirement provided for the open public meetings act is satisfied. Notice of this meeting is properly given to the public and as per request on February 9th, 2015. Through times of March 1st, 2015. This notice is posted at the county of Middletown City Regarding Administrative Zone, the county of Middletown Municipal Zone, and filed with the township clerk. Roll call.
Here.
Here. Here. The minutes of the meeting of February 14th.
Anyone have any questions or any comments? I have a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. And that's,
Second.
I'm sorry, that was,
Second.
thank you. Actually, you can say, but that's all right. We'll keep it exactly.
Yes. Consideration of the consent agenda.
Second.
Yes. Yes. status report.
Okay, the Hurricane Sandy Support Services to assist TOMSA was recently updated spreadsheet. Actual costs versus estimated costs. Upgrade costs. Emergency repairs on Drive through the sewer. Quotations were received on March 1st. Recommendations for emergency work regard due to the anticipated lead time and presentation pregnancy. Advised to advise the contractor to proceed with contact with incentive on Monday. So the resolution
really did a great job in handling and stabilizing the situation, handling the situation by soliciting bid and safety guard.
Did we go out there to do some emergency stabilization?
and we
Did we?
I don't believe so, unless we go to the director.
Are we taking questions on the project? Questions? The pipe, as I read the bid, we're replacing the pipe. Is the pipe damaged or are we just
It
replacing
was a temporary fix that was done.
You had the right sleeves? Yes. So what are you going to do to replace it? Still a plastic pipe?
It's still a place the pipeline is going to extend further. And also going to be stabilized, obviously the bedding around it's going to be stabilized and riprap's going to be put in. As will be the case with the manhole.
Okay.
Force main, the Atlantic Highlands Regional Force Main. I think I reported last month that I had checked with the executive director, and was awarded to Mountain Construction of Berlin, conditional upon approval from the Environmental Trust. And it's pending that. It's anticipated to start in May and probably be completed by September. The 2012 open cut repair, that final payment, the required documents have been provided and recommendation for approval in the package including the building. The aerial crossings, because of other items that have been pushed back, it may be once this, the FEMA issues are resolved, it may be a time to look at those again, as we talked about at the last meeting.
Yeah, but one of the issues on that is the permits.
Yes.
The length of time it takes permits.
Yeah,
And
my recommendation was to get the permits. In either case, proceed with the permits even if we don't do the work right now. But we had a meeting with the DEP back when this was hot, back in the summer, and had gotten consensus from them. It was 3 different departments, and we had simplified the permit operations this day. And I think it would be worthwhile to get those permits to proceed with.
before they change it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to proceed on that?
On authorization.
Just, who does the work?
We would do.
Okay. Because that could get bogged down.
Right. Luckily, with regard to this emergency, we contacted, the authority contacted the DEP, got their approval to proceed, and we'll follow up after the work's completed with the formalizing the proposal.
Is that in writing?
I believe.
Do we have any idea if any of these are in jeopardy, like the one that we're correcting currently?
We did a report we prioritized. There were 7 total, and we had prioritized 3 of them. two of them are 8-inch pipes. They don't carry as much flow as obviously the 30-inch that then goes underneath the, I'm going to say carpet. That one's in better condition than the other two are, but the other two are not in good condition. Plus they're, 25, 30 feet in the air.
How about, what time frame are we looking at?
It all depends on whether or not erosion were to take place. So I think a monitoring of that would be a key. And if we see that any erosion is taking place, once again, this erosion too has been caused by a lot of downed trees. And it'd be worthwhile to go in there, even if it was the, it was minimal clearing just of debris in that by the authority, rather than do it officially.
When was the last time we went in? When was the last time we looked at this?
Actually, when they found deep there, we were actually looking at the aerial pipes,
So you're already going around.
so they're going around.
So do we have a plan to, say, once every period of time, month, once every 2 months? Unless we have a storm, and after a storm, we need to obviously go back in.
We can set up anything. We can basically get a proposal from Mazer to do the permitting, whatever.
Then we have to monitor these, just periodically, and then if we have a storm, so we obviously got to get in there, take a look at it.
Thank you.
The only other item outstanding right now would be that Main Street repair replacement, and that's obviously taking lower priority, and it's still would not be a high priority. Anybody has any questions?
No, thank you, John.
The next item is actually the resolution to award emergency pipe repair work to Caruso Excavating. And as we said, it's been verbally authorized, but we'll follow it up with the resolution.
Was Caruso a bidder the first time?
No.
No.
So they came in, and so they underbid everybody.
Yeah.
We haven't done one.
We only had one bidder the first time, and that wasn't really, that's why we had to really reject them, because it wasn't really a bidder.
Do we have any experience with these?
Yes.
Right?
They do a lot of work, they're doing a lot of big construction work for
Okay, good.
Overage.
Need a motion for the resolution?
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Okay, next is the director's monthly status report. Safety, there were no lost time accidents. Well, actually, I have to correct this already. There was one injury in February 14th. Someone basically stepped on a grate that wasn't in properly, the grate slid and he fell. Basically cut his hand, bruised his elbow, and bruised his chest. He hit flat on the concrete. It looks like basically 5 lost days from that. And we're still working through the workers' comp and all that, but basically it's just proceeding through.
Is that in the plan or?
Yeah, it was a 2-foot drop, so it wasn't deeper than that.
Is that one of the drain gates, grates?
No, it was a grate at the beginning of the primary tanks where the wastewater spreads and goes in. It's a 2-foot deep channel, and the grates fit together like a jigsaw puzzle, and they're basically all bolted down. But they had taken them up to clean, they didn't put them back right. And most likely the guy that fell was the guy that took it apart in the first place. So,
Fortunately, he wasn't hurt badly, and he was back on the job.
yeah. Let's see, the financial at this time looks good, only 1 month into it. The treatment plant, the volume is still very low, 5.5 million gallons per day. The vehicles, we purchased one new cargo van, or we received one new cargo van at this point, and we sent one, the insurance company picked up the one that was damaged. we also got one payment from the insurance company. We have the second van that's on order. It's been kind of expected any day now. When that comes in, we'll send the other one back. The two pickup trucks, we haven't done anything yet with them. We're still using them. And in April, they should come out on state contract, and we'll purchase 2 new ones, and then they'll come and pick those up. The vac truck is back. The vac truck had about, I think it was only $12,000 worth of repair, so that's back. The last vehicle is pretty much nailed down at this time. The original cost of the truck was $155,000.
The dig-up truck, right?
The dig-up truck. And the company is basically saying that the repair on it is going to be $55,000. So, you know, basically if the insurance is going to cover that, then that's fine. But I think what's wrong is that all the compartments on the bottom of the truck were underwater. So they say basically there'll be a line of rust right around the whole vehicle. So, let's see, we're replacing our present cell phones basically because we can't get batteries for them anymore.
How old are they? That was the issue.
But they're not that old, but
Yeah, but
can't
it's
get parts. Yeah.
It's more than 4 years, you forget
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
amazing, isn't it?
Technology with me today is going to
It's going too fast, so.
Yeah, too fast.
We're looking into the phone system. I think with the phone system, we're gonna kind of have to retrench a little bit since the scope of it expanded from just the Merlin to the whole system. But we're okay with it. We updated our office program from Office 2003 to 2010. The payroll program basically called us the other day and told us that they're phasing out their program and want us to go to their new web-based program by the end of the year. The entrance gate is physically working. The program that controls it isn't installed yet, but that'll be the next step. The fire system, when we began this, we were basically, the step was they were going to test all the lines and determine what was working, what wasn't working. And then they began to concentrate on the big cable that runs through the plant. And then they decided that we should probably replace the cable. And then it came back and they said, well, we shouldn't replace it with a cable, we should do a fiber optic line. So then we started looking at the fiber optic lines we do have. And the last one that was run was actually a 25 strand cable from this building to the maintenance building. And then we have a 4-strand cable that goes from the maintenance to the control building. So we may be able actually to use the lines that we have without running anything. But we were having some computer problems this week, and sort of at the end of the line. So next Wednesday, the fiber optic company is going to come in and just run tests to make sure that everything's okay with the system. He said that the fiber optic is probably fine, but the units at the end of the line, sometimes they go, so we may be replacing them.
Let's get back to the Maryland system.
Okay.
Somewhere along the way, we're gonna have to do something with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Most likely, if you're gonna go from building to building and integrate the whole thing in, you're probably gonna, most desirous to use the fiber connections.
Yeah.
So, if you have a cable, you know, there's always a bundle of fiber, you know, you put one in. You should have lots of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And even if you have 2 fibers, considering what you do here, you know, there's no way you're gonna use the capacity of those 2 fibers. So you're in great shape if we can do it that way. Then you just put the buckles on the end and you got it.
And we are looking into fiber optic.
Well, you got it. It's the only reasonable way to do it. You don't want to do copper.
Yeah. No, it's just over the last couple of weeks, it's been, you know, first it was the fiber, the fire guys said they could use it, then the telephone guys said they could use it, then the computer guys, they said they could use it, so it's a good thing we have it.
But if you're going to put fiber in, you got to figure out the architecture.
Yeah.
So it satisfies all the applications, potential applications.
Okay. let's see, collection systems. We had 34 service calls, 7 that required table blockages, and 10 that had to do with pump stations. We are collecting at the GPS points. We're looking at basic 6 and 8 at this time. We're trying to do as much as we can over the winter because the green is really hard. You see, Mazer is looking into the emergency generators and the pump stations. They're out today on Tuesday. We have the second project, we're looking at the flow allocation of the pump stations. I believe we have 3 pump stations there. Also, I didn't have it in here, but John Oswald has been working for the last couple of weeks. At the beginning of each year, we go through the trouble areas and get we have no connection fees and no subdivision application. Quite a number of us attended the technology transfer seminar where we got the next thing on the agenda is actually a presentation of John Smith of the Energy Marketing Exchange. I wrote an information memo that kind of go through it quickly and set this up. But about 10 years ago when that energy deregulation began, we worked with a group of other sewer authorities to form called energy aggregation. And the sewer authorities are really prized because we use a lot of electricity, we use it both day and night, we're constant load, and they love us. It's not like basically municipalities, schools, anybody else that uses a lot of electricity during the day and drops off at night. So what happened with this group, we were getting this group together with all sewer authorities, and when it came time to go to bid, it turned out that we weren't large enough. Large authorities to participate in it. So we stayed in that group that basically for another couple of years, just taking the price that they basically gave us. Now, a couple of years later, the joint insurance fund basically started their own group, and they called the SEM, the Sustainable Energy Fund. And then we got involved in that in about 2009. Now that's it's a group of about 200 plus municipal buildings, schools, sewer authorities, and then basically because of our load, we help them out. We save some because of the economies of scale, because of the size of the group. In theory, it's not as good as just going with other sewer authorities because of the load. Now. At this point, we're completely with the SEMS, and over the last, year and a half, the SEMS has basically saved us something like $138,000, so it's substantial. And the SEMS is getting all ready to go out to bid again on April 9th. And then they're kind of setting themselves up now. John Smith's group, at this point, the laws have changed such that a single sewer authority can now go out to one of these auctions, and you can go out and basically see what you want, and then compare it. The timetable of what's going on is that March 20th, the SEMS is going to give us what they call their strike price, which is the highest price that they would accept. March 27th, we would decide whether we want to stay with the SEMS or not. And they would formally go out on April 1st. Now, John's group, they actually ran an auction for us today at 12 noon. Basically, tell what kind of price that we could get. That's the kind of setup of this. I guess I can introduce John at this point.
Sure.
Sure.
March 27th goes out.
March 20th is the strike price. That's the day we set the price. Yeah. Well, no, not the day go out. That's the day day that they set the price, it's like we're not going to take anything higher than this.
March 27th.
27th is the opt-out.
Okay, so if we want to opt out, it's March 27th.
And they would formally go out to bid on the bill.
Okay, let's go back to March 9th. They set a strike price, and assume they looked at the market and figured that's where they could easily get that or competitive price. What if they don't get that price? What happens? We're all left there looking at an empty pipe. What happens? So what is the price then?
Well, if we opt out, I guess.
No, without opting.
Without opting out. we
But
opt out.
the quote came in on the 27th, higher than the strike price. So right now, we have no contract out.
Well, it's, the price we stand on for legal money. There's a gap, there's a risk.
What happens if nobody bids below the set strike price?
When you have the strike price versus the auction price.
You get to go for the lowest auction price, so then it'll be above the strike price.
The strike price is the highest that they would set. So
Yeah, but okay.
Suppose nobody bids,
But then there's
suppose
no-
nobody bids below
There's
that.
no price there.
Do you have no electricity now?
No, yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's a real opt-out.
Well, hopefully.
Just wondering how this thing works.
Yeah, hopefully John can answer your question better than me.
Anyway.
John, welcome to TOMSA. Thank you
thank
for
you,
coming
thank
this
you.
evening.
Well, I don't think I have enough brochures. I didn't anticipate such a large crowd. I apologize, so. Some of us larger than the others. Yes.
Speak for yourself.
I got one more.
I'm good.
Okay. So that's just brochure. We've been under a pilot program for a year. And with that pilot program under the DCA, it enables us to run auctions. And here's a waiver. I'll let everybody show. I don't have enough of this here. This is a DCA waiver that enables you to forego the traditional RFP process. Because electricity is like buying salt, and a lot of times if you have to go out and bid, or it's very laborious and can be a costly kind of juncture. So, here you go.
No. Okay.
So what we did today is we did a live auction, which I could show you, but I only have it on my little website. And here, this will give you an example of the scope of work of exactly what we do. And I can just go over this first. And this will help kind of understand exactly what we do. So we came up with a true price today. So we got raised bills 1 month, and we were able to, with that 1 month, able to get history of the last 2 years. With that, we came up with, after we ran the auction, a savings analysis, which I have too, over what you would do if you went back to JCP&L. Okay, and here's a savings analysis. Can somebody share it?
Hang on here, hang on here.
Okay. Ray, you want? You got one or you?
Have one.
Does Charlie have one? Can you give one to Charlie?
No,
We're
if
sharing.
you got one.
Yeah, we're sharing.
We're sharing.
We're sharing, okay. Sure. Anybody else? Okay, good. So today we ran an auction, and in that auction, today if you were with the tariff rate, you were at JCP&L, you'd be paying 10 cents. Okay, almost 10 cents, 9.987. Price we achieved when we ran the 5-minute auction, and our 5-minute auction is live on the web. You log on, you watch it. You can choose 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months. The local the DCA doesn't allow us to do 3-year contracts, or use local units to do 3-year contracts. So we were able to achieve with that an 0.086, which over JCP&L is an average of, is about 19, almost 20% savings. So we're recommending a 2-year contract, should be $167,000 savings over going back with JCP&L. Okay? Now, who is Energy Market Exchange? In the last year, after we got our approval from the DCA, we have about 80 local units and about 20 MUA sewage authorities. So we have clients like Ocean Township, Sewage Authority, Village Milling, South Monmouth. Ran an auction, we're going to do Rawway, Old Bridge, I can name a bunch of them. So we have about 20 MUA sewage authorities that have used this reverse auction just in the last 12 months to procure electricity. Today you are with the SEM. Now the SEM has a number of townships and a number of municipalities, housing authorities that you're lumped in with. You use electricity very efficiently. And using that electricity very efficiently enables you to get a lower price from the monopoly, which is JCP&L. When you put yourself in the aggregation that you're in today, with townships that turn on their lights during the day and turn them off, the load factor and their meters cause a higher price to be had. Here's a little difference between an aggregation. So an aggregation favors inefficient meters. So if you had an inefficient meter, you're small, you could be in an aggregation. But you're not small, you're very large and you're very efficient because your energy usage is on a straight line all across. And yeah, so and then so your bulk purchasing is what you did, and what you're in a SEM. So what you have on the 20th, you have an opt-in and opt-out. So they're going to give you a strike price, and if they can't achieve that, you have to say, okay, either I'm going to opt-in by the 27th or opt-out. We don't have an opt-in or opt-out. In other words, you see exactly what the price is, and you can decide. So if they don't achieve the opt-in price, say you go in, they don't achieve the that opt-in price, I believe they probably go out to bid again at a later date, but I'm not sure exactly how that all works. So I know you had that question, I wish I could answer it for you, how the aggregation works if you don't achieve that strike price that they offer.
They do go out again.
They do. They probably go out again in another month or two. They come up with another strike price.
They raise the strike price?
I guess they could, because they would have to in that sense, and the market could continue to go up.
Well, you don't, the strike price is based at the market at that point in time, is determined. And a month later, the market changes, so it's going to establish another strike price. It could be a bit higher or it could be lower.
Right.
You don't know.
But aren't you locked in if you go with this 1 or 2 year?
Yes, you are. And you're locked in if you
So
opt into the
you-
SEM for 1 year.
Okay.
So you have the choice here. With us, there's another thing. You have 6 months, 12 months, 18, and 24-month contracts. So you have a little more leverage. The other thing you'll have, you know exactly what price you're going to get today. You don't have to go forward. With us, we run the auction, no cost, no obligation. How we get paid is embedded in that fixed cost. We are the platform, so we are the company that does this. We're DCA approved to do this. So we're going again all the traditional RFP process.
Well, when we go to auction, who does the auction?
When you went to auction today, the Energy Market Exchange platform ran the auction.
You do the auction.
Yes.
And basically, you're in the middle, and you buy for us X amount of power for a certain period of time, and then we get it. And then you take the difference. You set a price.
It's a little different
It's
now.
the price.
You don't sign a contract with us, so Hess, Hudson, South Jersey Energy, Con Edison Solutions, First Energy, they all could bid for your service. You sign a contract with them. Once you sign that contract, they pay us. We don't get paid until you sign a contract.
Can the authority set a strike price?
Can the authority set a strike price? Sure. Well, you don't have to set a strike price because
You
you don't have to move forward. So you can look at what you achieved in 8 cents, and if you know, you didn't like the price, then you don't have to move forward. And here's the other thing. Last year, when the SEM went out to bid, natural gas is a leading indicator, it's a commodity, it's a leading indicator of what the electricity kilowatt rates are. Around this time last year, natural gas was trading at $2.20. Today, natural gas is trading at $3.81. So that SEM price that's going to come out next week is going to be a lot higher than what you achieved last year, guaranteed. And that's why our price is at 8. You know, it's, if you would bid a 2-year, if you're able to bid a 2-year contract last year, which some folks did Northwest Bergen County Utility Authority, we ran an auction for them last year, and they have a very large load. They achieved a great price, you know, 6.
Well, why do you go out one authority at a time?
Well, that's a good question. That's basically how we're approved the DCA, one authority at a time right now. Maybe in the future we'll do an aggregation, and we're looking at doing aggregations. We do aggregations on the private sector, but as far as our DCA approval, we're not approved to run an aggregation.
Do you have any idea when you might get that approval? Because I'm thinking the more sewer authorities that you have going into this, the lower the price.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting back to the timeline, if we went with you, when do we need to tell you by?
Well, in this case, with this contract, with this auction today, normally it's one day, the next day. Now, I have had contracts go for a couple days and still be okay. It depends on the commodity market, depends on what it does. It spiked today, it went up a little bit today, but you ran your auction around noon. I think it spiked before noon, so we're sitting pretty high. It might go down in a couple days. And, you know, so if you run another auction, it's hard to say. But I can tell you in the last year, if you're looking at a stock or anything, and everybody's looked at stocks and watched graphs, the graph is going like this, and the futures market is pointing upward. It's dipped above $4 a few times in the last 2 months. It's sitting at 383. It was actually a couple of weeks ago down at 340. So I can't tell you where it's going to be, but if you look at the futures, it's showing above 4 in the next year. So if you don't, and that's why we recommend the longer term. If you don't lock in for a longer term, then you go out to bid again in the next year, and you're relegated to what the price is again.
Yeah,
But the other side of the coin is you're thinking, well, what if I can do an aggregation here? So there's all sorts of things you have to think about, right?
yeah, I did look at the futures price the other day. I guess my concern is we're on our own versus going with the Sims, which is a large group. This is a big gamble, the way I'm looking at it. It's a big gamble, and I'd like to hear how the other board members are.
How long does it take to set up an auction? Can we do it, we give you a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning and say we want to auction at noon?
Well, we have all your bills, we have everything set up, so if we were available that day, normally the next day.
In other words, if we find out what the Senate strike price is, 7-day period,
We would absolutely run an auction without
7-day period.
Then you have a hard number with them. But the real number is in the millions.
Why do you think part of the auction?
We just wanted to show the process, and we wanted to see what truly we could get. So now when you have that price today, you're going to get a STEM opt-out price in a couple of days. Now we're going to go. 20 in Missouri, for 11 states. In the last 12 months, I'd say 20. South Monmouth Regional School Authority, Ocean Township, right next to you. Bay Shore is looking at us. Fisher. Outfall is looking at us. They're already sent to, they're small. Ocean County, a few of them, I think off the top of my head, Logan Township, Farmers Point, Old Ridge, Pakistan, Hanover, Logan Township, MUS, Joe Weber's Farmers Point. We're always going to do an auction in a couple days. we have about 20, maybe a little shy of 20, but it's like,
What actually are we buying? We're buying kilowatt hours at a certain price, and are we guaranteeing that we're going to buy a certain quantity?
That's the great-
Per day, per week, per month?
That's great. No, it used to be a little fluctuation, now 9% bandwidth, so you can basically use 50% of the
Given the tolerance that you've gone to, then so everyone is required to, even though they can use right now, the sales price is lower than just today.
Oh, so let me explain. Send a question last year.
Yeah, I
So,
understand.
yeah, $2 to
Right, you have to-
$38.86. It's almost double.
It's running out.
That's like, I can't wait to see it. It's like, sure it's gonna be- Well, we'll see.
So you're saying you have the capacity to wait and see what the sales price is before we ask for the budget? And then we have another short-term period.
Well, drop out there, you have this side, claim. So you get one period. Claim is $27, once, twice, let me know. Together, the contract over there. Normally, today, all the suppliers are using the same bill. So if you're JCP and Apple, it's great, you get all their bills. Supplier pays. We can arrange that, we're a platform that we're relatively, there's a simple electric.
What distinguishes your operation from the famous one years ago?
Denmark, of course.
Weren't they brokering power, energy, and things like
I
that?
think they were, but think about it this way, you're not signing, you're signing a contract. You're signing a contract for, let's say, First Energy, or all So we're just enabling, we're the platform to enable these folks to hyper-competitively bid for your service. I have it recorded, I can show you the auction, a small, we have it. See it. And you can all watch it when it's live. I'll send out next week. Send out a link, send out a conference bridge, anybody can dial in, it's 5 minutes. But the resets are going to happen. And in the last 2 minutes of the auction, if any supplier bids, another 2 minutes is going to pause. So we have 2 minutes of silence. 2 minutes of silence. So you're not going to have 2 minutes for the last second. That's what we did. So that, and they only see one line. They only see a number. They see 6-month price, 12-month price, 18-month price, 24-month price.
Our side, if we really do that, then we could send what changes that will be.
A lot changes. The fact is, the Senate can try to follow its own issues, or if we have any other issues, question, not no structure. Our side will make analysis for you, saving, will help you on the billing side. There's issues with road check, the back end, you want to be consultants. So that's what we're doing. You want to earn your business next time around. And we feel that being in this aggregation that we're in is not a good move. Because once again, it's we think because of the big load, but there's a lot of inefficiency and what's going on and on. What we do is
Yeah, I personally would feel so much more comfortable if all the sewer authorities were in with you together rather than just individual authorities.
maybe we'll work on that next year.
Okay,
I liked it.
okay.
That would be a, something that I'd like to work on instead.
The J7 is what,
With
1
the
year or 2
DCA.
years?
I'm sorry?
The 7 is 2 years?
1 year.
1 year, okay.
Because we just have the capability now to do the aggregation automatically. And with that said, we are really, this is new technology that's coming out. It hasn't been approved, but we're able to do it for private industry. It could take, with the state, with the DCA, how long does it take to get these things approved? I don't know, maybe a year.
Hey, Ray, the Senate doesn't hold any grudges if you opt out, do they? They let you right back in?
No, actually, we are in the SEMS for natural gas. And natural gas, we have a 2-year contract that just started in January. So we are in them for 2 years with natural gas. And when I did talk to them, and they didn't like to hear that we could be, possibly getting out. I didn't say we were going to do that, but from the call, they had somebody else call me and say, we don't want to lose you. So from that, I think you can understand that we do help out the SEMS. They like us being in it.
How did the natural gas compare this time from last time?
I don't know, but from what we were talking today, and basically they were saying that we really nailed a good price on natural gas the last time around. I'd have to look back and see what it was.
The last thing about our platform too, that a little different, I didn't mention, is that we can send people out a certain time of the year, and you're dictated by that time. Again, who plays market, I don't know, but with our platform, you can run the auction once and say, you know what, let's wait, let's see what the market's gonna do. And then see when it dips, and they call us up, hey, I see a dip, I wanna run the auction today.
You can put it together in a day.
We can put it together by the next day, yeah, you see that market dip, but you're playing the market, and I don't advise doing that.
Well, we're buying either 6 months, 12 months, 24 months of power.
Yes, sir.
So if we have a contract for 1 year, we can't go out in 3/4 a year and go for another.
Yes, you can. With us, we can forward price up to a year. So we could start a contract if the market, and it's another thing we do for our clients that the SEM's not doing. We're calling our clients 6 months out when we see the market dip, and we're giving them advice, hey, look at the market, we'll show you graphs, looks like it's come down. You might want to, instead of waiting next 6 months, here's a futures market, instead of waiting till the last 2 months or 3 months to bid when you should bid, because it might take, especially if you're going from Hess to Hudson or Conduit Solutions, it might take 2 months just to turn over. So at least 2 months before your contract's up, you kind of want to bid. But in 6 months to a year, we look at clients that we have, our private industry clients.
We could buy in for price effective at such and such date, or
Anytime you want to run an auction for a future price, we'll run an auction for it. Yeah. Any auction.
It's a commodity
But
auction.
you're guaranteeing them that price for that
Right.
period of time. It's not like
You know,
all of
like
a
I
sudden
could-
if there's a big
I could bid
dip.
tomorrow and say, okay, in 3 months, it's price, and you give me a price for it in 3 months, and I can buy in, and then in 3 months I'll have that price.
Yeah, but it's not like we can go in, say, for a 2-year contract today, in 6 months it dipped, and we say, you know what, can we
No,
avoid
that's
this?
the
Sorry.
contract, no.
Can't do that, you're in a contract.
But when you say dip, the commodity market could dip, yes, but JCP&L is regulated, they can only bid once a year, they have a fixed time, and they're on a 3-year rolling average, but so their tariff rates are dictated by last February before, put that together, and they get the winter summer rates. So,
Well, that's the rate they give you, but they could be bidding on a 6-month basis for power, because they obviously don't generate it all.
right.
And if for some reason we don't use all the electricity that we have been using in the past, say our number decreases, is our price still fixed, or are we responsible for a certain amount of power?
The price is still fixed.
Okay, so we're not responsible for a certain amount of usage.
Well, you mentioned there's a bandwidth,
There's a bandwidth.
so there's a limit to that. It just can't go down to 0.
I'll check that. Lately, most of the suppliers have gone down to 0, so 100%. Let me get that.
Okay.
It's definitely 25% or above, but there's 100% bandwidth. Most of the suppliers do 100%. So, see in this auction what they did. They're all in the same playing field, so.
Doesn't cost anything to run the auction, and you have a 7-day window.
So then we'll actually have something to really compare.
Sure.
Well, no, you're comparing to the strike price.
Right.
Of the SEMS. That is the maximum price the SEMS will accept, but they could, when they actually go do the bid, it could come in low.
It could.
Okay.
If you did the cogen project and you cut your electricity down, how far could you get down without being stuck?
That's why I just asked that question.
We do a cogen, we'll be down about 75%.
So then you're still stuck for,
No, we'll do 100%. I'll make sure the auction we run is 100%. 100% bandwidth. If you do a cogen, you go down 75%, it's fine. You know, we're just, the fixed rate is a fixed rate, so.
but even if you drop 25% off, we're still not going to be penalized on the contract?
No.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah. They take the risk
That's
now.
my question.
They take the risk now, and we can talk about that when we're on the line with the analyst from Texas, the bandwidth, you guys go in cogen. But,
Is the bandwidth part of the bid?
yeah, so 100%, you can demand 100% bandwidth.
Does that raise the price?
Well, all the suppliers are doing 100%
Better believe
bandwidth
it
now,
will.
so.
Everything you put in will.
But you go with the SEM, I mean, the same thing, if you don't tell them, and they, the bid's gonna be the same for everybody, so, and I don't know what they do on the SEM, if they do
Yeah,
25.
but if you're in the 7, they can absorb it. If you're out on your own, it can't be absorbed.
Yeah. No, we'll do 100%.
We'll see.
And that's what we normally do, 100% for most, because folks don't know if they're gonna go solar in a year, especially, if you take a 2-year contract, it's more attractive now, but you can't get the SEM, so.
Well, does anyone have any
When you
further
do
questions?
municipalities.
No, I just have one comment.
Is that for just the municipal buildings, or is that for the whole town?
Everything. We've got 100 meters, 200 meters in some towns. School districts have many meters. Yeah, everything.
But that would be residential property.
Not yet.
Okay. Because they would be served by, for one entity.
Well, that's what we're working on too. We're getting aggregation of residents, and we're looking at, our CEO's looking at an opt-in letter, sending out, or not an opt-out, an opt-in. So in other words, send a letter out to everyone residents, and they can get the same price that the township gets if they opt in.
How do you measure the power that's being consumed? Right now, Jersey Central's got meters all around, and they.
You mean, how do we measure the power?
How do you know how much power we use?
Yeah, we look at your bill, we see 2-year usage, and we see exactly
Well,
what
wait a
you
minute.
use.
No, in the future. There's a metering system, and the bills are based on actual metering.
So, this.
Does Jersey Central read the meters?
Yes,
Or-
I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay, okay.
So yeah, nothing changes. You
Okay,
get, you
okay.
get one bill from
Okay.
JCP&L. 85% of the suppliers, we can tell you if you're gonna get consolidated billing, it's gonna be on the same JCP&L bill, we'll tell you that in the call. And those are questions you should ask. It's gonna be on the same bill. 80% of the time, it is on the same bill. JCP&L still reads all the meters. JCP&L still responds to all the issues. There's no difference in the electrons that come out of these lights.
Yeah.
Everything's the same.
The transport.
Just one comment, one thought. As a matter of fact, it doesn't require any kind of an answer. When you're dealing with commodities or any kind of investment, a municipal or authority entity either invests in, buys, sells, whatever it does. I think you need somebody to take a look as best they can at the total risk, vulnerability, potential rate, vulnerability, rate of risk, because we're very limited, and we have to be excessively prudent as to whether anything we go into, whether it's on the investment side or this side, that to look at the risk under a couple different scenarios. Because again, we're very limited, and authorities like ours, this is not private industry, have to be especially prudent, and that's why, for instance, on our investment portfolio, that we have real tight regulations on it. So I'm not saying I'm against this, I'm not saying I'm afraid of it. But I think we have to get someone who can really know and at least give some shot at our vulnerability to risk. I know that's what we always do in the banking industry, on anything like this. But that said, you know, it sounds like a very good program, but that's one or two things we have to take a harder look at.
Hey, James, you've already been in a third party for years, so
Yeah.
you've already seen the risk, like you've already
Yeah.
had, whoever you had, so.
That's
You're
right.
doing this, you're not really doing anything different, you're just
Mhm.
using a different platform to.
Good.
A different supplier.
Yeah, well, it could be the same supplier you have
Yeah,
to,
it's a different supply.
it could be the same supplier you have to have.
Could be,
You don't
It
know.
could be the same you have,
Whoever won the bid.
whoever wins the bid.
exactly.
We don't know.
Okay.
Why does the Sims need to know, I guess it's 27th to the 9th, what is that, a 10-day window? Why do they need to know 10 days in advance whether we're opting in or out? Because that's going to affect the price. Are we that, how big are we in the Sims? How big are we in that group?
I don't know. I know that we're prized, I know that. I'm just going from the numbers of 200 plus entities, and we're one of them. The actual contract would run from June 1st to May 31st for either 1 year or 2 years. The natural gas one is 2 years. And
So a decision this board makes could affect our neighbors.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Explain that.
Well, if we're that heavily weighted in the Sims, and we pull out, could it cause an escalation in price for the remaining members?
Well, I said, there's about 200 members in the SIP, so we're one of them.
I don't think it's,
Yeah, it's not
two
gonna
hundred members.
be, you know, I don't know what our percent of power.
There's townships that are
Packages.
bigger than you, but again, they use energy efficiency, so.
Way like that.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, clearly when you buy power in bulk, the more you buy, the cheaper it's gonna be. It's gonna flatten out the curve, it's really very slow.
Would it be a good idea to run an auction in that some of the areas so that you get some out of the price?
No cost to run the auction, you can run the auction in 7 days, so you can then make a decision, opt out if you want at that point. You have to make a decision before the 27th, and that's why you run the auction today, because you need to see that. I'm not before the 27th, not, so.
So these numbers on the sheet are for the auction today.
Yes, sir. The savings are from today, so today, if you just went forward from what you'd say, you go back to JCP&L, because you really can't compare to what you had last year, because we talked about the natural gas, it's going to be a lot different than the same amount of price. So no way to compare for the car, or saving for the car. And you know what I'm saying? But the SIM's not out there.
Not out there. The SIM's only gonna come out with a strike price.
Yeah.
They're not gonna come out with an actual
The
price.
board should know that right now the Sims is at .075.
Right, but that was a year ago when it passed.
June 1st, we don't know the price.
You really need to compare the SIM price to the new price. See with the additional savings, not JCP&L's strike price.
Right, CCP doesn't include.
And we'll put up a new analysis next week. And we'll put it up against.
So we have a contract, I think, for SIMS, when we bought in, I said the price of $7, now, you go back in your records, you should be able to get a full price at the time that we went in on the SIMS. I mean, how did they do that? I mean, you obviously been in the auction at that time.
Yeah,
There are prices.
Yeah, we were getting lower prices. Last May 1st, we got 5.8 from Northwest County Utility. That was good, 5.8. Here is you get the strike price, I'll know, and I'll talk to Ray, and I'll communicate with Ray, he can let me know if you want to run another auction for your, Ray can, your email address is Ray report that, Ray will report it to whoever, and you can watch. And you can watch, you can ask questions during the auction, and then you can decide if you want to opt out after that point. I think that would be, I would agree with you, decide that.
Going back to our original questions, you also provide listing of the auction prices as of, say, June 1st. Because that's where our city contract is from June 1st. Well, they have the data. They've obviously been bidding, every day for a number of years, so you just have to look up their database and pull that right out. June 1st of 2012. Well, it was effective June 1st.
Correct. That's when you got.
Okay, when they did the bid, whatever that date is. For
So
power.
I said, we achieved 5.8, you know, go 39. 5.058. We achieved in the low sixes for now, so around that time. Things have changed now.
Well, I just tried to compare apples with apples.
So you have 5 acres, 75?
Yes, sir. If we want to go further down in the code, how it hurts.
It can't hurt to run the auction.
So are we all agree?
Absolutely.
Anyone not?
We're authorized to act on the auction, the automotive cases of the following strike price.
You have a copy of the contract for you all? Also.
I have today's contract.
I assume it's a well-paid contract and you just fill in the numbers.
Same contract for you.
Well, you're talking about the contract that was today.
What binds us? What
Yeah,
binds
so
us?
here's Hudson, I have one copy.
I'll give it to Ray. Put it all over there. I don't know.
No, you You got it.
One whole.
Oh, here, this is the last page.
But Hudson has basically the same contract with BPL as BPL.
They're all pretty similar, and, you know, there's a little difference in the terms here and there.
I don't know what's-
Once you get familiar with one, the other one's gonna be a lot easier.
In your experience, is Hudson usually,
Hudson's a good one.
yeah, they come in competitively all the time?
No, they're competitive, but their contract is good, and they're easy to work with. I know some of the bigger companies aren't as easy to work with, like suppliers like Ed Suez, or they win a lot of bids, but they're tougher. We work with them for you, in other words, when you have billing issues, we'll work on the back end for whatever you need. So.
Okay.
Well, Mrs. Smith, I thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
So I guess we don't need a resolution for.
Not now.
Okay, the next item is the construction fund analysis. Basically going with the 5 projects we have going on right now. Basin 6 GPS, Basin 8 GPS, the pump station emergency generators review, pump station susceptibility to flooding. None of them are real big projects, but they're all good. And the co-gen we really haven't done anything with. The next is the budget itself. At this point, we're showing about 7%. Up at the top, you see that for some reason the salaries are high right now. A lot of, we have to kind of look into that, but let's see, everything else looks okay. Let's see, the next thing, well, the manager's report, the director's report, then George's Ms. George's maintenance report, sorry.
Well, I don't know if the board has any questions.
The blockages at the pump stations.
I'm sorry?
The blockages at the pump stations. First time I ever heard that one.
No, it wasn't blockages, just calls. We have
Calls
Yeah,
at the pump
they're not
station?
blockages, there could be anything,
Yeah.
maintenance, collection.
Who calls?
We know because of our alarm system.
Oh, the
Yes,
alarm
issue.
system calls, okay. Okay, alarm's going on, okay, fine.
Yeah, I had.
SCADA systems.
Yeah, I put those numbers in there because basically.
That was good to know.
Yeah, in the past, we were reporting numbers like 34, that would say there were 6 blockages. But it's good to know that these 12 of those were pump stations.
Okay, pump alarms, okay.
Okay, the next part is public comments.
Yeah, okay. Linda Bowen, 19mpeg4. A few things. Just to repeat what I said earlier about the blower. It is interfering with the public's ability to hear these meetings. You don't use microphones, so it's sort of important that there be no interference like the blower. You know, I think there are some simple solutions. This meeting ran a little long tonight, but normally the public portion of the meeting is over in roughly half an hour. If it's a matter of being warm for half an hour, an electric heater could be brought in. It's not a very costly thing to do. It's a lot more quiet than the blower. The blower can be on until just before the meeting starts. It can be turned off for half an hour and then turned on after that. So that's a very inexpensive approach. It allows you to stay warm. It allows me to hear. Any thoughts on that?
Thank you for your comment.
Another alternative would be to move the meeting to a place where the public can hear everything that's being said. It doesn't have to be at this location. It could be a town hall. I attend many meetings in the conference room there, and I've never had trouble hearing the conversation in that room, and they don't use microphones either. Just to bring that to your attention. I guess that's it. I hope that you would consider that. You know, if it's a matter of money, I don't know what it would cost to run an electric heater. We'll talk for half an hour, what, $1? We're talking $12 a year. I'll cover it, honestly, if it's a matter of the money. So I hope that you consider that.
Thank you for your comment.
Is that something that you will consider?
I'm thanking you for your comment.
I'm asking you if you're going to serve the public. I mean, does the board have a comment about
I
that?
have a blower right over my head as well.
I don't think it's quite as loud as this
And
one.
I hear perfectly fine. To suggest that this board move someplace else is ridiculous. If you ever tried to schedule time at town hall,
Well, I'm
there is
asking,
no
this is why I
time.
suggested an alternative approach with
Okay,
this
but-
here.
but- Thank you for your comment.
Only one comment I'm going to make about that. As I sat through the meeting, I kind of noted mentally that the blower during the meeting was off, I'd say about 80% of the time or even more. Secondly, there may be some kind of better equipment that you can purchase that will pick up everything for your recording. And as far as turning off blowers, again, that's patently absurd. Absurd. We cannot and will not shut off heat in this room or air conditioning. I think this is a simple matter. There may be some simple resolution, but I think this board has done everything it can and always will to make sure that the public is accommodated.
Okay, may I respond
Very
to that?
candid, may I finish?
Yes, please.
Very candidly, I've gone back there. I've never had a problem. I don't know anyone who ever has. I don't see anything we can do.
Okay.
Electric heaters.
All right, may I finish, because I'm going to run out of time, so let me just respond to that.
Well,
You were
no.
absent from the last meeting.
When I talk, I'm finished.
Yes, but then, when
When I
you're done,
talk,
I'm going to be
I'm
told your
finished.
5 minutes are up, so I would like to
Well,
respond to
that
what you're
can be
saying.
credited to your time.
Okay, go ahead and finish then.
I think I'm going to run the meeting. Mr. Hinckley, continue.
Well, basically, I'm done.
Okay. Ms.
Oh.
Baum, you may continue.
Okay. A couple of things. One, at this meeting, the blower was not on quite as long as it was at some of the other meetings. At the last two meetings, it was on for the majority of the meeting, and I missed the bulk of what was being said at those meetings. My audio recorder picked up nothing, the camera picked up nothing. The January meeting, almost 100% of the meeting that blower was on. It's a matter of when the heat was turned on. Here it was turned on somewhat in advance. That's number one. Number two, you're saying perhaps there is some equipment that could solve this problem. Well, there is. I have a wireless microphone. I asked to put the transmitter on that shelf at the last meeting, and I was denied. The blower over there isn't nearly as loud as it is over here. That would have solved the problem. Perhaps you could have allowed me to put my audio recorder over there as well, or on the table, away from the blower. But I was denied both of those things. So in response to what you were just saying about everything being done, everything that can be done, being done, that is not at all true.
That's your opinion. I respect it.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Schlabel from Leonardo, and I decided to come to see how my almost $300 a year sewer taxes or whatever is being sent. I do have to say, I didn't hear a lot of it, I'm sorry, because I do have a hearing problem. And I have to say that it couldn't be considered ridiculous when someone requests an accommodation, which you guys don't seem to be doing. I could hear some of the guys, just the way it is, that they were speaking more loudly or firmly or deeper. I could hear some of that. But I'm sorry, Madam Chairperson, I couldn't hear a lot of what you were saying. I don't want you to be frozen, but there must be some other way to go about it. And Mr. Hinckley, there may be some stuff to purchase, and it comes under the ADA as an accommodation. In Town Hall, they do have an assistive listening device that several people are using, and it shouldn't be Linda's problem to purchase it or my problem in the end. While I'm here, I wanted to let you know that townships do have to follow the ADA, as I'm sure you know, especially Mr. Rogers. But coming here, the parking spot is too small, the sign is illegal, the bathroom toilet is too short. What else? There's some other issues here, and I think we may need to look at them, but I would like to come back sometime. Oh, the other part, coming in the front door, it's like on a steep ramp, and you're supposed to have a level landing. So John was trying to bring me, but we almost rolled out in the wind. So there are some other things here that we need to look at. But I do feel, though, if you're having an open meeting, in fact, I know if you're having an open meeting, there should be accommodation. And the blower, it was on quite a bit, not as much as I thought it might be, but I can't hear it. I have high tone loss, and the little device like his assistive listening, or maybe, I'm surprised that Linda couldn't even record, anything on it. That shows me, it may be ridiculous to you. You may not feel it that loud, you
When I
guys.
said ridiculous, I meant moving the meeting to Town Hall, because there is no scheduling. Town Hall is booked.
I didn't say
pretty much.
Town Hall, I'm not crazy about that either, but anywhere else,
Town Hall is pretty
right.
much booked, and we don't want to move our facility.
One-
That's what I was referring to. when
I wasn't
said
quite done, I'm
ridiculous
sorry.
movement.
Not my first choice.
I wasn't quite done, but one of the accommodations is that town and entities do have to move a room if they can't, master it any other way.
Right, if there was a problem, if we couldn't hear, then there'd be a problem. I can hear perfectly, I have the blower right over my head, the same way as you do there.
Can I quote you on that? If you couldn't hear, then there'd be
I
a
could
problem.
hear.
What about the citizens of this
But
town?
the blower here is as loud as it is down
This
there.
one's very loud, this one's very loud, believe me. But I do plan to look into this.
Okay, but the thing is, we're very cognizant here of spending taxpayers' dollars. And, unless something is really, really, really severe that you can't hear, which is not the case here, as Mr. Hinckley said, purchase a different camera. Do whatever is necessary.
I already told you I have the wireless microphone. You wouldn't allow me to put it across the room.
Okay, my attorney's saying time to go. Thank you.
Okay. And as far as spending taxpayer dollars, I've already said I'd cover the $12 it costs to run an electric heater. You turn that off a half an hour, and you're probably way ahead in terms of dollars. This is not about taxpayer dollars. This is about accommodating the
No, this
public.
is
You have an
about-
obligation to do that.
There would be more dollars in a lawsuit, I just have to warn you.
I think the 5 minutes is up. Oh,
You don't think-
Okay, there's one item for the
Yeah,
executive session.
Is that the end of the public council? I want
Would
to
you like
speak.
to speak?
Yes.
Please do.
John Schwebel, Leonardo, New Jersey. I have pretty good hearing also, but when the blower was on, I had a hard time hearing.
I could strain and hear most of the people. I could not hear Mr. Smith when he was facing the other way. He was impossible to hear. So I think there is a problem there.
Who's that?
That's the consultant.
Oh,
Second of all, the, trying to get a wheelchair in here with the ramp at the front door that slants down and the door that opens out is extremely difficult. If any of you would like to try that sometime, and that also is illegal. There's supposed to be a 5-foot level landing in front of every door. And that makes it extremely hard to get a wheelchair in here. That's all.
Thank you for pointing that out to us, I appreciate that. Any
Okay, I
other
think
comments?
there's public comments closed.
Yeah, public comments are closed. There's one issue for the executive session.
Are you gonna take a vote to close? Are you gonna formally close the meeting?
yes.
We are.
Okay, let's make a motion.
Wait a minute.
As it is reasonable and necessary for this board to go into executive session for matters which cannot be discussed in public at this time, it's placed before the board of motion to go into executive session to the Open Public Meetings Act.
So do I have a motion to close?
Yes, you
To
can.
discuss matters of personnel.
Okay,
Yes.
do I have a motion to close the public portion?
Yes.
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
You gonna vote, or do you wanna vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Do it, Bill.
Thank you.